Hello and welcome to Jersey Matters. I'm Larry Menti. We come to you from the State House in Trenton this week because we want to talk about the new governor, Phil Murphy, and how he's doing in his first 30 days. But first, the flu season. We're going to talk to the top flu doctor in the state about when this epidemic might subside. Also, are you interested in making money in case pot is legalized in the state? There's a conference for that, and we were there. And did you know that there is a horse census? Turns out we have more horses in this state than we knew about. We'll tell you why that's important. But first, everybody thought that when Phil Murphy, a Democrat, was elected as governor, it would be an easy ride for him because he has a Democratic legislature. But he did some things that made the Senate President, Steve Sweeney, upset, and that ride has started off as a bumpy one. We talk about that with two veteran political reporters in Trenton. And here to talk about all things politics in New Jersey is Dustin Racioppi from the Bergen Record and Bob Jordan from the Asbury Park Press. This is pretty fascinating what is happening right now, because I think everybody thought Phil Murphy was elected and he was going to get his agenda right through because the Democratic legislature had already passed these things in the past. Oops. There seems to be an immovable object in Steve Sweeney. What's happening, Bob?
Well, of course, the back history is Steve Sweeney had designs on being governor. Murphy took the space, got the nomination early, got support, and Sweeney was put out. They said they were fine with that. Then Sweeney had a very tough re-election. There was a very big union that spent a lot of money against him, the New Jersey Education Association, and Democrats throughout the state were looking to Murphy to come in and referee that. And he kind of stayed on the sidelines. He said, well, I really like Steve, but you know, I'm very pro-teacher. So he stayed out of that.
Right, and there's some other small things, right? There's something with the Salem nuclear plant and an executive order involving that, and a couple of people that were in the transition team. So there's been a number of missteps. Does this show that Phil Murphy's a little politically naive?
You could view it that way. We don't know. We don't know what Phil Murphy is going to be like. He's never held political office before, and he's only about 30 days into the job, and we have no indication whatsoever what his political skills are, if he even has any. He might turn out to be a great governor, a great political operator, but we have no idea. We do know that Steve Sweeney has been the Senate president for almost 10 years or so, and he's a great political operator. He's a negotiator. So it's like we're heading into sort of uncharted territory right now. However, yeah, there have been some mistakes, and we need to see if these two can hash them out, because right now there's no prospect of Murphy getting anything done right now.
Yeah, and that's the big question, right? Is Steve Sweeney just kind of flexing his political muscle to show the governor that I'm the boss here, you have to deal with me? Or is this really going to be a stalemate for 4 years?
You know, it could be a 4-year stalemate. I mean, we've had a history in Trenton of Democrats not getting along with Democrats. When John Corzine was governor and he had both houses, there was a government shutdown. So we have a little history of friction that way. That was less than 10 years ago. We're going to know a lot more come March 13, I believe the date is, when Phil Murphy gives his budget address. And it's going to be in a room just like this, where Steve Sweeney is going to face reporters and really let people know how he feels about Phil Murphy's spending plan, his agenda. And then we lead into later on, April 26th happens to be Phil Murphy's 100th day. If by 100 days this doesn't clear out and calm down, and the two legislative leaders and Murphy get along, it could be a very rough 4 years.
But by 100 days, we thought we'd have, at least he thought, Phil Murphy thought it'd have a millionaire's tax. Mm-hmm. That doesn't sound like it's going to happen. He thought he'd have legalized marijuana. He ran on that. That doesn't sound like it's going to happen. You can go check through his agenda. It doesn't sound like many of those things are going to happen. So what does he do?
Well, they're all thrown into doubt, in part thanks to President Trump and the tax plan that was passed late last year. That gave Sweeney an opportunity to say, oh, well, we're going to get hit pretty hard by this tax plan, So we need to take a step back and re-examine our own spending. That includes the millionaire's tax. So now Sweeney, who promoted a millionaire's tax for so many years when Governor Christie was in office, is now the one who's saying, oh wait, hold on a second, let's take another look at this.
Yeah, and somebody, doesn't Murphy have to go to Sweeney? That's what they're waiting for, right? I guess Sweeney's waiting for him to come to him and say, I'm sorry, or let's work together, or I can give you this. But there's no signs that's happened.
No signs in public that that's happened. There may have been discussions, there likely was discussions behind closed doors. But yeah, Steve Sweeney is arguably the most powerful man in New Jersey right now because he's the gatekeeper. Nothing goes through the legislature without his sign-off, and the way that their relationship is facing the public, it doesn't look like it's a very good working relationship.
Let's quickly talk about the midterm elections. We only have about a minute left, but I was looking at the Cook report that rates all the races, and except for Chris Smith, Republican Chris Smith, the other 4 Republican seats are all in jeopardy in New Jersey. Some are considered toss-ups. The Lobiando seat's considered likely Democrat, that it's going to go to the Democrats. What do you see playing out? I know it's a long time away, but there's some trouble in New Jersey.
Well, November's coming up quick, less than 9 months away. We're in the first trimester of the midterms. But right now, Republicans have 5 of the 12 Democratic seats. And to stop the Democrats from taking control of Congress, they really have to dig in and cut their losses. They're not going to have 5 after this election, but if they only have 2 or 1, they're in trouble nationally, because if the blue states turn all Democrat or almost all Democrat, it's very hard to hold Congress that way.
Yeah, and I guess the RNC is going to have to figure out where to put its money too, and I'm not sure New Jersey is the best place.
Yeah, sink a lot of money into this blue state. I think Trump himself is a big factor here, and how he comports himself and the way the public reacts to what he does. Because if there is this heavy backlash, we're in a deep blue state, and even though there's these red territories where Rodney Friedlinghausen in his district, there could be enough backlash to Trump to turn those congressional districts blue.
And what's interesting is the Republicans in New Jersey have voted against Donald Trump on many things, like Leonard Lance has, and it doesn't seem to matter.
But nobody's really stood up to Trump in a significant way. It's all been here and there piecemeal. I mean, Republicans at least. So, you know, if there's enough of Democratic anger and resentment towards Trump, those little piecemeal, you know, those small measures of standing up to Trump, they probably get drowned out.
Dustin Racioppi from the Bergen Record, and also Bob Jordan from the Asbury Park Press. Thank you both very much. When we come back, we're going to check in with a poll from Rutgers University, the Eagleton poll, on exactly how New Jerseyans feel about New Jersey. Some of it's going to be surprising. That interview when Jersey Matters continues.